Good evening, everyone. I will call the Southbury Board of Selectmen regular meeting January 2nd, 2025 to order at 7 p.m. here in 205A. If we could have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up, if we can have a moment of silence for the passing of former President Jimmy Carter. And thank you. He did a great job throughout his entire life, not just his presidency. Next up, presentation from Sustainable Southbury. Chuck is here about our silver certificate. Hello, Chuck. How are you? Happy New Year. Is the green light on?
There we go. I got a green light to go. Everybody hear me all right? Yes. Okay, good. So I'm here to talk about a certification award we recently achieved. And by we, I mean a collaboration between the town and Sustainable Southbury. It was listed on the agenda as Sustainable Southbury, but all this work really is a collaboration. It's part of the rules of the game whenever you go for any sort of certification under Sustainable CT. So I'll explain a little bit about what Sustainable CT is. I wanted to give you a view of that and what went into making, what went into achieving this certification. Whoops, a little bit. You're getting a preview. Can I give a presentation or what? So anything, any talk about, I should introduce myself. I'm sorry, there's some new faces here. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I spent a long career with GE Capital. And, but the more important part of that is when I retired, I went back to school and I got a degree in what's known as sustainable design. I've always been interested in sustainability to one degree or another, so I was following it all through my career. I was originally trained as a forester before I got into, well, it's a long story about how I got to GE Capital. But so I got this degree in sustainable design, and then I also got a degree, a certification in what's known as passive house. I'm a certified passive house consultant. And passive house is a very energy efficient way to build new or retrofit buildings. And one of the things I did as part of that is we now live in a net zero home. We built one of these passive houses, so it's wonderful. You know, our home actually produces more energy than it consumes. And you don't do that by just peppering it with solar panels. You make it very conservative first, and then you end up putting on the remainder just through solar panels. So that's a little bit about me. And we should talk, whenever we talk about sustainability, we should talk about what sustainability is, right? Sustainability is one of these things where there's a definition, everybody has kind of their own definition. What we do in Sustainable Southbury is we built it on a very specific framework. And what I like to think about is, if you ever wanted to pencil out the perfect place you might want to live, what would be on it, right? Of course you're going to have clean air and water, right? Everybody associates that with sustainability. But you're going to have a lot of other things, like all these things up on the screen right now. You know, you're going to have a robust local economy. You're going to have, good schools. You're going to have, a variety of housing options that, people of all different incomes can afford. You're going to have walkable streets with pleasant shopping areas. You're going to have streets that are safe to walk on, right? You're going to have good public transportation. So you're getting a sense of how comprehensive this definition of sustainability is. And this is the framework, essentially, that Sustainable CT subscribes to. So Sustainable CT has been in operation since about 2017. They are a nonprofit. They began at Eastern State. So they're a statewide organization, but they're not run by the state. They're their own nonprofit. We started towards certification in 2021. And the way this thing works is there's 12 different categories of actions. You can think of them loosely as what was just on the screen before. Right? They boil down into categories like that. And then with each one of those categories, there are a number of different actions you can do to become certified. It's all points game. It's more complicated than I'm making it right now, but that's the essence of it. So it's giant Chinese menu within these 12 categories of about 300 different actions you can choose from. There's sub-actions within actions. And you know, the points that you can achieve from any individual action range from, say, 5 to sometimes 30 or 50 points. But now, part of this is the town has to be involved for certification in anything that we do. So and you need a town liaison. Our town liaison is Kevin Bielemeyer. You know, so there's your link to the local economy right there. So you need 500 points to get to silver, 750 points to get to gold. I think at the time we achieved bronze, it was at 200 points. They tend to up the bar over time. So you can see there's 138 of the 169 towns in Connecticut that are working on this. And they're not receiving any direct benefits from Sustainable CT for doing this. You know, I was a little bit involved in the birth of Sustainable CT as one of my class exercises. And I served on the Land and Natural Resources Committee, and we struggled with that. We said, you know, what's in this besides just bragging rights? There needs to be some sort of monetary benefit, you know, direct from the organization itself. But they chose to go a different way. And it's proved to be quite effective. Now, you can see up there are only 24 towns that have achieved silver certification. So, you know, we are part of a select group now. And there's now 6. At the beginning of this year, last year now. Happy New Year, by the way. At the beginning of last year, there was 1 town that achieved gold, and then there's 2 certification cycles. There's one in the spring and one in the fall. During the fall one, 5 more made it. So the way we did it is we accumulated 540 points and submitted them. They were accepted. We actually accumulated 650 points and submitted them. So they didn't accept 110 of those. We have to do some revisions on them. But you know, in essence, we're well on our way to gold already. And I want to emphasize how rigorous this certification is. Sustainable CT doesn't do the reviews themselves. They send them out to public matter experts. For example, anything to do with water quality goes to organizations directly involved with water. So like the Pomperaug River Watershed is one of their judges, one of their expert judges. In case of us, they recuse themselves from, you know, reviewing our application. But they were also a tremendous help in us getting this certification. So, you know, why are we doing this? Well, you know, first and foremost, and I think this is the reason it's become so popular, people recognize this is a way to attract new business to town. This is a way to attract new people to town. It's a way to be smart about the way you're going to develop your community, right, in a more sustainable way, and it helps, you know, drive a skilled workforce. The other big thing for us was it provides access to funding. And we did one of these. I'm going to talk a little bit about the food waste work that we've been doing, the food waste reduction work we've been doing. And we use this to fund it, among other things. We applied for some grants as well. In total, we raised about $25,000 for the projects, and by we, I mean Sustainable Southbury, for the projects we're funding right now. And a big portion of that was through this dollar-for-dollar matching that Sustainable CT gives you. So it's a tremendous benefit, and there's a very low barrier to entry. It's amazing the amount of money that they've given away over time. It's a huge enabler. The rest of this stuff is, you know, it's kind of mom and apple pie, but it's all important. It's those intangible things that are important. You know, it does help you identify your gaps and where you want to go next, but I won't belabor that. So these are, give you a little more flavor of what some actions look like, and you get a little bit of breadth of the actions by looking at this. You know, watershed protection programs, obviously. Arts and culture, that's something that is big. We earned 35 points, I think, for the arts and culture work that's been going on in this community. And, you know, I'm very happy to say it's been expanding. Tim, you'll see the historic resources and inventory and assessment. You know, that helped us. That was also, we earned a lot of points for the work that's been done along there. Agriculture-friendly practices, one that's close to my heart, energy use reduction in municipal buildings, right? Healthy and sustainable food networks. My wife is a registered dietitian. She works in food insecurity, so this is something that's vital for her, and she helped us with. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a flavor. Now, what is Sustainable Southbury and how do we play in this? When I finished up school, I started this nonprofit. So rather than chasing my certified passive house degree certification, I decided to start this nonprofit instead. I am getting a few people soliciting me these days for it, and I do use some of that within the nonprofit. But we started in 2019. We're an all-volunteer organization. Everything we do is free to anybody that we work with. And we built it explicitly on this framework. So we work across all 12 of those sustainable CT categories. But we have, having said that, we have major focuses in what you see up on the screen. You know, it's raising building efficiency, clean energy, reducing waste. We do a lot of things around reducing waste. I'll touch on a few of them. When it comes to clean air and water, we mostly play a supporting role because we have, the PRWC, we have the Land Trust, we have the Audubon already doing the lion's share of work there. So we do whatever, we do a lot of outreach, right? So we help them in those areas. We try to promote buy local wherever we can. I like to see the sign that we've got out there, shop small, so I was happy to see that. And clean transportation, I think of this as an emerging thing. It's, we've done an EV assessment and chargers. The landscape is constantly changing. And I lump in safe and walkable streets into that category as well. It's something that's another personal passion of mine. So, food waste, right? Well, this is one example. We have two major focuses in food waste. One is what we call the food waste roadshow. So we're trying to reduce the amount of food that's wasted. So we were going around having a lot of events. We do a lot on social media, a lot of outreach. And it's all about daily things people can do to reduce their food waste. It's understanding date labeling. It's going to the grocery store and with a plan, right? It's, don't go to the big box stores and buy more than you need, right? It's all those sort of common sense things, but we're reinventing this right now along social marketing guidelines. There's a very nice EPA toolkit we're working through. And the idea is, okay, you've raised the awareness, but now you need to change the behaviors. And you need to figure out the motivations to get people to change their behaviors. So there's about a 10-step process you go through with the EPA toolkit to very systematically figure out the ways to do this, your priority audiences and so on. So we'll be rolling that out over the next year or so. And, you know, it's very much a journey. This is one of those things where you just have to keep chipping away at it. But we're trying to reduce the amount of waste. So, and the other aspect of it was where we can't reduce the waste, then we want to do something useful with what remains of that waste. So we've started this transfer station food scrap program. We've been running it for about a year and a half, and you know, we've collected over 62 tons of food scraps so far. And instead of it going into, you know, our trash is burned down in the wheelabrator, right? Instead of it going in and being burned, we make compost out of it. We have a hauler come and take it. They take it to New Milford Farms, and they create compost out of it. Now, we're trying to get rid of that hauling aspect because that in itself isn't that sustainable, and we're working on an alternatives analysis for that right now. But just doing it even in this way, the impact of it, you can see it's equivalent to avoiding driving over 86,000 miles of car. So it's so we funded this through the Community Match Fund, and as well as our business programs. We have similar programs with some of the businesses in town, helping them reduce their food waste. Another aspect is these bottle and can redemption events, and you know, it's all part of our efforts to reduce single-use plastics. There's a lot of emerging research on the health impacts of single-use plastics. If you haven't caught one of our film showings yet, check it out. It's We Are All Plastic People Now. We're going to be doing that. You know, endocrine disruptors, and it'll scare you to death. I mean, the human health aspects are emerging, and they're becoming much more well known just how bad it is. But these events have proved incredibly popular. We've been at it for about the same amount of time we've been at food waste. We've done 21-ish, 22 of these events so far, and you can see we collected over 500,000 bottles and cans in these events. The most we've ever done in one event, and we've done this several times, is 45,000 bottles and cans in 2 hours. So yeah, we're running. It takes a lot to staff these things. You can see it's all on a bag concept, right? So instead of standing there at the grocery store shoving them in one can at a time, there's a fill line on that bag. You can't really see it, and you sort it by size. So they just eyeball it, and they say, this is how much it's worth, and they pay out on the spot. So we make it quick and easy, and people are just buzzing in. You know, if they have their iRecycle bags already, they just go ahead and go through the express lane, and they're in and out in a pretty short amount of time. We've been filling these 2 box trucks you see in the center on a regular basis, but the part I'm really excited about is we branched this off into community fundraising. So we partner with organizations. This January 5th is our next one. We're right across from ShopRite. We have Southbury Juniorettes. It's a fundraiser for them. So we've been partnering with a number of these, with Scouts, a number of other organizations. And what happens is, we didn't start this way, but they asked us to start taking donations. You know, we were just pay the redemption, the 10 cents an item to everybody. And a number of people kept asking us to start a donation pile, so we did. And when we do donations without a fundraiser, we get a nominal amount, $80, $90 in a 2-hour event. The last fundraiser we did with Rochambeau Middle School, over $1,000. So it's getting their attention, you know, and we're getting more and more requests for this, which is fantastic because it helps educate our youth. It helps us manage these events. It takes a lot of volunteers to run these events. Tim, I know you've been to them. And you know, they don't always run without a hiccup, but we're struggling with our own growth. But something else, again, close to my heart, is we run these Energy Fair and Green Expos, again, a collaboration with the town. We have them right here in the Town Hall Green. We've done 4 of these. We've done 3 of them right here in Town Hall. This is both energy fair, which I'm highlighting mostly on this slide, but it's heat pumps, it's weatherization, it's solar. We bring in a number of vendors, but it's also a green expo, and we're kind of re-engineering this whole thing right now too. We'll probably move it to mid-year next year. Another thing I'm very excited about is we now offer free energy services, and this is available to anybody. We're focusing more and more right now on Heritage Village, because if any of you know anything about the village, right, it's all electric, and their electric bills are enormous. I mean, there's people, I don't have to tell you, right? I mean, there's people struggling there that literally camp out in their bedrooms all winter long because they can't afford to heat any of the rest of the home. So we help them through the whole process. We'll come in, we'll assess their energy needs, we'll break it out we'll look back at their bills, heating versus cooling versus all their other loads. We'll give them tips to save energy around the home. But if they're interested in heat pumps, which is what we're really trying to do in Heritage Village in particular, is we'll help them find weatherization contractors to first improve their building envelope and lower their energy need, and then we'll bring in the contractors, and we'll help them understand what the contractors are saying, because sometimes it's kind of tricky to get a heat pump that you're happy with. We'll check the equipment, make sure it really qualifies for rebates, that it's appropriate for our climate. You need a cold climate heat pump. We'll guide them, we'll teach them about the financial rebates and the incentives and the financing options, about what it takes to do them. And we're working on 2 or 3 simultaneously right now, and we got another one in the wings. So this is becoming quite popular. So it's a great service. So that's just one of many things we do. I just wanted to give you a flavor of what went into all of this. And I also wanted to point out, you really can't see those web addresses, but I'll pass this deck around afterwards. But we put a number of resources out on the town website, and so you can go there and see, and this will be continued to be built out. And then Sustainable Southbury has a website. Come check our website out. Actually, we're in a major revision of it right now. Within the next month, we're going to totally revamp it. We're creating a whole new website out of it. So that's it. And contact information's there if anybody's interested. And of course, I'm open to any questions if you want that.
Thank you, Chuck. First, I want to say that, when this all started out, it was, I frankly didn't quite understand, this was nice, but what was it really gonna, where would we be? One, I think it's made Southbury stand out again as a community to live in, because it is silver and would be nice to get the gold. But it's not just about having that award, it's about all of the holistically things that go along with that project. I do want to say, if there's anybody listening, and remind even yourself, Chuck, if you're dealing with someone who is in a home and there's a financial issue, burden, we do have small cities grants. That is federal fund revolving, where if there's a financial issue, this can get heat pumps and better windows through this small cities grants, and a lot of people in the village have taken advantage of that. I'm sure that if you come across that, you'll let me know or let our staff know that there's places to turn to, so that they don't have to do that.
Yeah, we had Mary Silverman at our last heat pump event for the village. We were a dedicated village, and it was by far the best turnout we've had. We had over 70 some odd people at that event. So, but we made a point of having her there, and so I assume she points them in this direction.
Mary knows quite well about that, and it's been used in the village, and we like making, it's just so if anybody's listening, what the Small Cities Grants does, it's a needs-based program there, where it goes out to public bid, and you can get a heat pump or windows, and these, the loan, if you will, goes on. There's no interest. It goes on your mortgage, and it does not need to be paid back until the unit is either sold or someone passes away. So it's not like it's an impact to the individual. So just know that's, for the public to know that's out there and available, and it's a great program that we've used quite a bit. I'll open it up for other board members if you have any questions on this sustainable CT.
I just want to make mention that it's been notable seeing sustainable Southbury in the community. You know, when I joined this board a couple or 3 years ago or so, I was like, what is this? I don't really know a whole lot about it. But I'm the mom of a 6th grader at Rochambeau, and she was extremely excited. She's like, Mom, I need all the cans on all the bottles, and it has to be this, and, you know, and can you drive me because, you know, I don't want to take them on the bus. And she was really excited about it. And I was like, wow, this is really cool to kind of see it really being ingrained into even the youngest members of our community. So I commend you on the work that you're doing. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, yeah. And I did want to mention, by the way, there's some very good energized CT incentives for income-eligible populations. And with the weatherization contractor we use, they can help guide them through that process. Many times they can get a heat pump for no cost. But you have to meet a lot of very specific requirements to be able to do that. And interestingly enough, sometimes you have to add insulation to be able to get the heat pump for free. And the insulation's free under certain conditions for income-eligible people.
That works. Anybody else? Chuck, you've been doing wonderful work, and I look forward to working in the future with a few projects. How far are we from gold?
We're about 100 points, but we have to do 3 more equity toolkits, which I didn't mention as part of that. But, you know, we're just going to keep working on it. But, you know, when we started this, we said we're not just after the certification.
Right.
Right? We're just trying to be more sustainable. You know, Southbury was already a sustainable community. I mean, we got bronze largely on the back of work that had already been done. It was just a matter of getting it documented. We did some new things, but a lot of it was already being done in this community. So, you know, it demonstrates what this community is all about.
It was a good way to measure what we have done without trying to achieve the bronze, and it gives us a goal moving forward that we were able to achieve. And frankly, you know, I mean, even if we were to get gold, we'd want to still continue to constantly improve what we are working on in town. So thank you so much for giving an update to the board on that.
Sure.
Just one question from me. I would, you know, I know we did get some emails from people that want to continue with the food scrap programs. Do you have any figures on the amount that it's increased over the last year?
The amount of tonnage that we collected?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we started at nothing, and it's been growing. It's kind of a stair-step thing. It's been going up, and then we've had three points where we've climbed. It corresponds to how much outreach we're doing at the time, and it's sort of plateaued since then. So, you know, once we get past this next budget season, right, and we finish up our alternatives analysis, we're going to start again with more outreach and more promotion of the program.
I do appreciate.
But we think we're only about 5 to 10% penetrated of where we can be. And typically, 20% of your trash is food scraps. So anybody that's taking them out of their trash, you know, it's the most normal comment we get. Oh my God, I can't believe the difference in my trash. It's not smelly. I'm hardly ever going to the transfer station for trash anymore, right? So, you know, it's a lot more than a lot of people realize, right? So we think there's a lot more we could do.
Appreciate what you do, especially with the bottle and can returnables and all the kids that are helping out there too.
Yeah.
I usually just donate mine.
Perfect.
Thank you, Chuck.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next up is public comment, and we allow public comment. We limit it to 2 minutes. If anybody would like to make a public comment, please come up and state your name, your address, and make a public comment.
Good evening and Happy New Year. I'm Victoria Shear, a new resident of Heritage Village, 581A Heritage Village. And I'm making a comment on behalf of Sharon Wirt about the unfinished business item rewording of the Southbury Training School Personnel Village. I hope the esteemed Board of Selectmen will discuss when a public hearing can be held regarding the kind of affordable housing townspeople would like to see created at Southbury. I have seen the Planning Commission's Affordable Housing Plan adopted May 24th, 2022, including Appendix B, the Data Analysis and Housing Needs Assessment. More and more Southburyans have been contacting the Southbury Affordable Housing Subcommittee looking for homes that rent or have mortgages of less than $1,100 a month. While some rents are lower in Waterbury, they're usually in unsafe areas and dilapidated buildings. Please find it in your hearts to move the goalpost of affordable housing closer in time by holding the public hearing and sending the needed rewording for the special act to the State Assembly as soon as possible. And I'd also like to thank First Selectman Mountainville who are communicating with me about the glitches in solving the problem, the remediation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
Yes, please. Good afternoon. My name is Javier Hernandez, and I'm a resident of Southbury as well. I'm interested in the recent announcement of the Department of Transportation regarding the expansion of truck parking. Is that for later on the agenda, or?
It's not on the agenda, we don't. I'm sorry, it's not on the agenda, we don't respond to public comment in general, as a rule. You can give my office a call if you want tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you were asking, sir.
Early December, an announcement came out from the Department of Transportation announcing statewide plans to expand truck parking. Southbury is on the list.
Truck parking?
And that is exactly why I'm here, because I've spoken with many people and nobody seems to know about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Sir, come on up.
You know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the library. Who was the architect of that library? Who put it where it is?
Sir, could you
Or
just
should
state
I
your
say
name,
where it
please?
was?
Sir,
Do
could
you
you-
know?
Could you state your name, please?
Can I ask questions?
No, you
Why?
have to give your name,
Thomas J. Robertson. I've been here
your address,
36 years.
address.
Well, my wife owns a house at 1180
that's
West
okay.
Purchase Road.
Well, we'll let you live there, that's fine. So now, if you could go ahead, you have 2 minutes.
Sure. I would like to know why the town built that building in that particular location where it could be subject to a so-called 100-year flood, which I don't believe in, by the way. It could be a 10-year flood. Now, I read in the Voices, I do read the thing, that the library wants to go into a hotel. Am I correct on that?
We don't make comments on public comment. You could state.
Okay. Well, I've just picked out the article from the Voices. But I don't remember when the library was built, what year. So I can't speak to who was first select person then. I think it was the short guy who didn't wear any socks, as I recall. And his mother was a 100-year employee here in the building. Probably some of you know who I'm talking about. Right, Mr. Manville? Anyway, I'm very disappointed. I believe libraries are a cultural icon in any town, And personally, I'm extremely disappointed that I have to go to Woodbury, Middlebury, Newtown, et cetera. So any projected time when we can have our own library back, even if it's in the wrong place? That's my question. I came here for an answer.
We don't discuss public comment at public comment. If you'd like to call my office tomorrow, I'd be happy to speak to you.
I will.
Okay.
I can even come here if you want. Did you get my note, by the way?
Yes, I did. Is there any other public comment? You have 2 minutes.
Bethany
Thank you.
Thatcher, 14 Antler Pine Road in Sandy Hook. Good evening. I hope you all had a very nice holiday. I'm here tonight to continue to show my concern for the lack of visibility at the crosswalk for the Larkin State Trail across Route 67. At the meeting on December 19th, this topic was added to the agenda for tonight's meeting, and so I'm here with fellow users of the trail to listen to the discussion by the Board of Selectmen. At the December 5th meeting, this crossing was deemed by the first selectman as, quote, not a safety issue for the town of Southbury. It's the state bridle trail. It is a state concern, end quote. At the December 19th meeting, I handed out some information regarding pedestrian traffic accidents. For example, in Connecticut in 2023, there were over 1,400 crashes involving pedestrians. I also looked up the number for 2024, now that 2024 has passed, and it's over 1,600. Increasing visibility of crosswalks has proven to help mitigate pedestrian accidents. Even if it is a, quote, state concern, wouldn't you all feel better knowing you did everything in your power to keep your constituents safe? Everyone has a part to play here. We've done our part by reporting a safety concern to our local politicians. Your part is to please file the appropriate paperwork so that the state can proceed when the funds are available. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing all of your thoughts on this topic. Under 2 minutes.
Thank you.
I'm here again. Good evening, it's Katie Richards, 750 Southford Road. I'm here to address the board regarding the safety concerns of the Larkin Bridle Trail and the Route 67 crosswalk. I have some specific requests tonight. First, I am requesting this issue be added to tonight's agenda. Second, I have made requests via email for the records and any correspondence between DOT and the Selectmen's office regarding this issue. Understandably, it has been the holidays, but from 4 days tomorrow, I expect to receive a reply. I am requesting you share publicly tonight what transpired after your meeting with DOT and DEEP officials in April. Was there indeed a request made to DOT for improvements? If so, to who and when? That way I can directly follow up with them. One added note to emphasize how dangerous this road is. This stretch of road is. Just 7 days ago, a car hit a pole and flipped on Route 67 near Peck Lane, about 1 mile down the road from that crossing. It's a dangerous stretch of road. And we're gonna get, something's gonna happen again and again and again. We need more visuals on this crosswalk. It's super dangerous. Finally, in the interim, I'm calling for increased enforcement of motorists who fail to yield to trail users at this crosswalk in the interim until we get some better visuals of this crosswalk because it is so dangerous and we all have agreed at this point that it's very dangerous. We are using this trail. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment? Hearing none, we will work. Next on is the announcements and correspondence you have in your packets. Under G, we have the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? You're in that resignation? Okay. Minutes of December 19th, 2024 regular meeting. Can I have a motion to approve?
Before we start with that further, with the people that spoke
Can you put your button on?
Yeah, with the
Thank you.
people that spoke before us, I would like to make a motion to add the Larkin Bridle Path on tonight's agenda.
I'll second that.
Made in second. Any discussion on adding that to the agenda? Here, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And nobody's opposed. We have the minutes. We okayed the minutes, right?
Did we? We started to.
All right. Do I have a motion? Let's start that one again. We have a motion to approve the minutes of December 19th, 2024 regular meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And it's unanimous. Unfinished business, the lease agreement with the Heritage Hotel. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Is there any discussion on the lease?
Yeah, I'd like to discuss it.
First, we'll go with Jason. Justin.
The only Jason on the board. For the record. Thank you, Mr. First Selectman, through you. And Heather, I see we have here, if you wouldn't mind, I do have a couple questions. First off, thank you for getting this lease. Having read through it, the lease itself makes complete sense to me. And I just had a couple of general questions. And I think it'd be good maybe for all of us to understand. We understand what's happening with the library in the state it's in. We understand to a degree that a lot of your personnel is kind of floating around this building a little bit. Can you explain to us just a little bit of history and why, from your perspective as the leader of the group, having you in one kind of consolidated space in the Heritage makes the most sense?
Sure. I'll introduce myself for everyone. I'm Heather Aronson, the head librarian. So since the flood, we have been stationed in room 201 in the town hall. The library has 21 employees, 9 of which are full-time and 12 part-time. Generously, the town has kept everyone gainfully employed. Most staff members are able to adjust their schedules to meet the town hall hours. So we're going from 7 days a week at the library, open Tuesday and Thursday till 9 p.m., Saturday and Sunday weekends, to Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4:30, and 8 to 1 on Friday. So several of our employees do have second and third jobs as well, so it has been a little bit of a hardship to kind of get that all fit in the schedule. But from First Selectman Manville to everyone in the building, they've been extremely, extremely welcoming and gracious and flexible. That being said, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the room across the hall. It's a very small room. It has one table, and on any given day from 8 to 4:30, there are about 7 to 10 of us working out of that room. So that's probably the equivalent of smaller than my own office back at the library. And that's not a complaint at all, because we're extremely flexible. We can work in any situation. We've actually really enjoyed being here at the town hall. We've made a lot of good friends. We've helped out in different departments, especially during the leading up to the election. A lot of the part-timers have had a great time working in the town clerk and the registrar and everywhere else. That being said, what we're looking at is really what does the community need and want from us. So the biggest part of our job as a library that we have not been able to really attend to is, believe it or not, the books. So we've kept up with our programming. We're planning programs from that room. We're going and hosting those programs either in this building, Park and Rec, Senior Center, they've been great, different houses of worship all around town. But what we really need to do is get our circulation back going, because not only does that influence our statistics and then lead to state funding, things like that, but we have a really dedicated group of library patrons, Mr. Robertson included. So thank you for speaking for the library. We appreciate everyone. And it has been a bit of a burden on some of our surrounding town libraries as well. So for our town, Southbury, with our population, our circulation level and dedication of our patrons is much higher than our population. So we're serving a greater population, and they're now forced to go elsewhere to get those books, especially new materials and things like that, which are often restricted by town to residents first. So for example, if you're going to go to Woodbury and you're going to put a book on hold here and it's a new book, you'll get bumped to the end after all the Woodbury patrons go first. You're welcome to go to any library in the state and then pick the book off the shelf. That's great. But a lot of our population don't want to do that. We've had actually people call and we'll say, oh, well, that book's on the shelf at Newtown or Woodbury, and they'll say, oh, that's too far. And it is, it's too far for them. But we've tried to be accommodating to everyone, and the state has been very generous as well, the Connecticut State Library and all the other libraries. They're holding all of our materials. So any Southbury item that was checked out when the flood happened, if it was not returned the very first week before we shut down the library completely, those are out in the universe. Either people are holding them in their homes or other libraries are holding them. And then the state has actually stepped in and is holding them in warehouses. And our consortium, it's our group of libraries that work together to give us our software that runs our catalogs. They're also storing items for us in Waterbury, their headquarters. So to give you a bit of perspective, 5 days a week, we get a delivery from the state of at least 3 to 5 bins of books, like the postal bins. And on 1 day a week, Wednesday, we get about 16 bins just on Wednesday alone from our extra delivery service. So those are things coming from other libraries to fulfill holds that you've placed and you're picking up here, or items coming back that were holds elsewhere, or people return any book anywhere. So books are always coming and going. So what we would like to do is have a place where we could do that. So while we're extremely happy to have the space here, the room is very full. What we would like to be able to do is have a place where we can have a dedicated section to processing our new materials. We've kept up on purchasing. We have restricted a lot, but we want to stay on top of it because frankly, we don't know when we'll be able to reopen again, but we don't want to be behind, especially on things like bestsellers. So we're keeping up with the purchasing. We'd like to have a place where we could process those materials and then get them out to the public. And also the hold books on our shelves that are just sitting in the library that we can get in there to get them, but we don't really have a means to get them to people because the library as it is now, there's no internet. We need a strong internet connection. Thankfully, our system allows us to work anywhere because it's cloud-based. But we do need a place where we can store items. So generously, we've been able to spread out during the day in this room, but because of meetings like this, we can't store anything in there. We've been able to go to Parks and Rec and Senior Center and have programs. They've been extremely generous, but we're kind of, they get first dibs, of course, because it's their programs, and they've been very, very flexible with us. But again, that's their area. We can't take their area. So what we're looking for is an area where we can have a semi-permanent footprint that we really think we can welcome the community in again. So we foresee people come in to pick up their holds. They can come in to ask us questions because we do have people that they've tracked us down and found us, and we're making new library cards for people. People are picking things up at story times, borrowing museum passes at events and things like that. So we would just like to be able to get to the public again and have a place where the public can get to us. And as much as we wanted to get into the library itself, best case scenario, like if the staff could get in there to the library, we could do these things. but we still couldn't have the public come in because of safety reasons and fireproofing and all that. So we're really looking for the best situation for us. And at this point, the town's been great examining all different places within the town first, and then, businesses to see what's available. And this seems like the most logical move for us. So if you have specific, I know I talk a lot, I'm sorry, but if you have specific questions about other things that we're doing, please feel free to ask.
Heather, I think you've explained a lot of it, and I just want to say that, I want to remind the people and the public and the board that it's been just a little over 4 months, and the biggest damage was to our library in the basement where the core of, the upstairs is very nice and there's a lot of books, but the core of construction and infrastructure is in the basement that got damaged. To that point, we had the library people in the conference room. We had FEMA in this room because they had certain federal requirements that we had to adhere to, and this was the best spot. With the amount of damage, we were the FEMA headquarters for the damage. Now that FEMA's gone, normally this is closed. This, especially with winter coming on, gives the employees, they can spread out rather than be, especially with the cold and flu season, we're trying to keep everybody healthy, and it gives a little bit of other room for them to come in. So we've transitioned as quick as we could to this room and that capacity. There was questions about over at the community center. On top of it, the problem in the community center is the room that would be used does not have enough outlets. It would have to be wired for electricity. It would be a Herculean effort to get that room up and running, other than disrupting the senior center and the park and rec. So it really wasn't working. We're trying to get a clearer picture of what needs to be done, and if people remember, we okayed an on-call engineering firm in previous meeting. That can give us an idea and a roadmap so that we can move forward and go out to bid, which we're going to be required to by FEMA to get reimbursed. There are certain steps we cannot bypass from FEMA. I will say I am quite proud or quite happy that comments from some of your staff have been, I don't know if we want to move.
Yeah.
Because I think the experience here has been beneficial.
Very much
in
so.
that the library staff understands what we do over here and the complexities of what our jobs are in town hall. And they have, I will say this, the library staff has stepped in with anything we've asked them to help with. Town clerk, which is not really in their job description, wherever it was, they've been more than willing and helpful with other, it's not like they're sitting there doing nothing. It's been an incredible experience on my part to see everybody working together to that. And it's really been one, and a couple of little parties here.
Yeah.
We do have a couple parties. Any selectmen have any questions of Heather about the library and the staffing?
Will the 983 square feet be enough for the library staff and all the books that you will receive?
Yes, I believe that it will. We're going from the one room to the equivalent of 3 of those rooms. So it would be spreading out the 21 members of staff between those 3 rooms. We've decided we would have one as an office space, another as book processing, and then a third as hold pickup. And then there is a very nice common area out there, right adjacent to the rooms that the hotel is very excited for us to kind of populate with more activity during the day, and we foresee having like newspapers, our newspapers out there for people to sit and read. We would have a checkout desk where people could check out items. We would have carts of some of the newest books. We would have a selection of children's, teens, and adult new items, displays of DVDs, and then you could just roll them back in the offices at the end of the day. Wouldn't be everything for everyone, but we'd be able to run a pull list. We call that our pull list. It's when you put a book on hold, you run the list on the computer, and we go twice a day and pull them off the shelf and then have them for you. So we would have that, be able to go to and from the library. It would be very nice.
So you've been involved in this whole process?
Yes.
And the other question I had is, you were talking about hours and people that have other jobs. Will you start taking on the original hours that you had in the library?
We would hope to increase the hours dependent on what is appropriate with the hotel staff. I know that they have different events at different times, so we want to be mindful of that. But there are staff members that are eager to get back to some of those hours and then give people that don't have a chance to come between 8 to 4:30 to come to the library.
Just typically, how many employees work during the day?
During the day, now,
Yes,
approximately, I'd say 10 on any given day.
okay. So it's not the total 21 all at once that are gonna be?
No, but we could, if we were in a larger place, and we could have more of the staff at full capacity, depending on what the needs of the patrons are. When we start getting the deliveries of those books again, we'll have an overwhelming amount of work to be able to do. It'll be checking in and processing hundreds of thousands of items.
Yep, so I took the liberty to go over to the Heritage Conference Center today and look at the 3 rooms that the lease is. You believe that the 420 square foot front office and the 2 other ones are large enough for what you guys need?
I think they will be. I think it's a step up from what we have now, and I think it would be, for us, it's more it's not really the comfort of the staff. It would be more of the permanency of us able to do our operations, and then the ability to have the community come in and interact. Though that's the component that we're missing.
And we have the chair of the library board here. Shirley, you've been involved with every...
Yes, I would love to say a few things. Heather's done a wonderful job, and she really knows the ins and the outs of what's going on. But I want to brag a little bit about our town's library staff. And you've all just heard about how flexible they are. But I mean, they care. They really care about what's going on. And our town citizens are crying for their library. As you all know, everybody reads in Southbury. And we all love our library. And our staff does not have the ability right now to do what they need to do for the citizens of Southbury. And that is to give them the services, some of the services, certainly not all of them, but some of the services that they are asking for and pleading for, and also books. They need their books, as Heather's just said. And if we could give them some semblance of coming to the library, that's what we want to try to do for all of our citizens. They love to come to the library. Maybe they could do a little browsing. They love to do that. In our situation over at the Heritage Hotel, we think we can see how that could happen. And as she just said, we have portable displays that we're going to bring over to the library and space them around so our readers can come in and actually pick up a book. I mean, that's really special, to pick up a book. Nobody can get their hands on a book. It's very hard. I tried to call Woodbury today to put a hold on a book. Well, You don't live in Woodbury, so you don't get first dibs on those holds. And they've been wonderful. They have volunteered, all of the local libraries have volunteered all these past weeks, months, years, it seems, to do something with the books, help collect the books, let the patrons drop their books off. They are now saying to us, I don't know if I remember if you said that, they are saying to us, we can't do it anymore. We're exhausted. We had no idea how much activity and how many books Southbury Library deals with. They just can't believe what our staff has been doing all these years, and we've been taking it for granted. So we ask you to please help us give books and give library services back to our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is the next step in moving forward, to what degree we can. It's been, again, August 18th, there's been a lot going on. We've also explored our alternatives, and we have limited alternatives in other directions. And this is a month-to-month. When we get in a better place, we find something different, we would explore that and move forward. Holly, did you have something? You were looking like you're reaching for the button.
I just, 4 months doesn't sound like a very long time in the normal scope of the universe. How much I've noticed not having the library has been surprising. I needed to scan a PDF file the other day. Normally I would have swung through because it's so easy on the quick machine, and I had to take a book out from Waterbury and getting back to downtown Waterbury. I wound up returning it late because it is a hassle, and I ultimately wound up buying a Kindle, and I'm an old school book reader, and it's kind of weird. And not everybody has the kind of flexibility that I have to even get to Waterbury. So I wholeheartedly believe that we do need to serve the members of this community, the taxpayers of this community, and give them a service back. So, and on the flip side, giving some home to the library staff, I think, is very important. So I'm very eager for this to move forward, because I'm not somebody, I know a lot of folks in town that are retired, spend a lot of time in the library. I'm kind of in and out, but I've missed it in 4 months, and I can only imagine how big of an impact that is on the people who rely on it more regularly than I do. And it was literally last week, I was like, oh, I need this in a PDF. Shoot, I can't. Yeah, I'll figure it out, So I did just a lot of gratitude to everybody for their flexibility, and I think this is very important.
Okay, I'll call the vote this time. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone is opposed, and it carries unanimously. Okay, rewording of Southbury Training School Personnel Village. I asked.
Jeff, can I just interrupt you?
No.
I did want to say something
hang on.
on the library.
We moved past the library.
Okay.
We
Well,
voted.
that's fine. I understand that. I just wanted to get an update from you on what Public Works feels is a accurate timeline as to when the library is going to be open.
We don't have a timeline. We have no idea. We don't have anything to go by, so to give a date or a timeline would be irresponsible to do that. So, moving on to the rewording of the Southbury Training School Personnel Village, I asked Selectmen Jason to work with on this, and the paperwork, the act, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. First Selectman. What everyone has in front of them right now is what I would call a jumping off point. So this is the current state act that we are living under right now, with some red line edits that I feel could be useful going forward. As some background, I think we all agree something needs to be done to clarify the situation up at the Personnel Village at the Southbury Training School. And we all agree that in order to do that, we need the state to take action. For the state to look at anything for this session representatives need to submit their proposed bills by, I think it's the 17th of this month. In all reality, they really need it by the beginning of probably next week, so their staff and their legal teams can take a look at it before it can be put forward. So, should we want them to work with our recommendations for this session, we kind of got to do something tonight. So, with that background behind us, I took the liberty of cobbling together some stuff. You'll notice that didn't add a whole lot of words. Most of the changes here are deletions, and that was intentional. What brought us here today for this rewording was the original act was written in a certain scope where it became narrow over whatever it's been, 13, 14 years. So it became unworkable just due to time and the changing of circumstances. So it was my intent with this language was to make it as broad as possible so that we kind of give our state reps and the General Assembly in general a recommendation that we as a town wouldn't mind taking over that property and using it for housing needs. We don't want to do anything other than housing. When we start adding in extra words and adjectives, senior, affordable, multi-generational, things like that, we almost immediately put an expiration date on the language. Because make no mistake, this isn't something that's going to be acted on by the General Assembly this year and all of a sudden we're doing something with it 18 months from now. This is going to be an annual process where we try to convince the state to see eye to eye with us. So some of us may still be on a Board of Selectmen when this finally does come around. Some of us may not. But I would like to give that Board of Selectmen the widest berth and make the decision that makes sense for Southbury in that time and place. And I think by giving our state rep-elects today a general map forward allows some actual action to take place up there that I think in the long run, and maybe the very long run, make a situation that is best for the residents of Southbury at the time and place of their choosing when this finally comes to fruition. So I'd be happy to walk you through any of the specifics if you have questions. Like I said, I didn't really add much to it. It was more pulling language out to allow this to be the guidepost going forward. And I would remind all of us that even if we love this language and put it forward to the state, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to copy and paste it and do exactly what we say anyway. But I thought, at First Selectman Manville's direction, that this kind of made sense to begin the discussion in this incredibly finite window we have.
And I would agree that the language, well-intended, and in the day it was drafted was the intention of elderly housing. And when it changed that there was no money for subsidized elderly housing, no matter, you had this restrictive that you have to get around on this language. A lot of time and effort was made by Pierce Hollow. There was support from the town. Part of that support was the ARPA money. We did everything, I think the town and Pierce Hollow Village and all the people did everything they could possibly do to get it over the finish line. And it wasn't that much long ago that it was realized you couldn't get it over the finish line. Had it been drafted in a better, your term, a wider format, we could probably have pivoted a little bit easier and better. So I'll open it up to the board. If you would like to have our delegates in Hartford consider the change in this language, is that what?
Yeah, well, I guess what we would be doing today would be making a recommendation to our state delegation to pursue action on the parcel we list along the lines of this language written. Again, we can't really force them to, but that would be our recommendation to them.
So you changed the wording. Can you go ahead and tell us what you changed?
Sure.
It's
As
on
far as what it was all about, from senior to what?
What it essentially says is Southbury, should it take ownership from the state, intends to use this parcel for housing. Not necessarily senior housing, not necessarily multi-generational housing. We're just going to use it for housing. And then again, not to repeat myself, but I guess I'm going to, that allows the next generation of decision makers, when this actually comes to fruition, to determine what housing means. Is it affordable housing? Is it multi-generational? Is it high-end luxury condos? I have no idea. But it allows, whenever this, should this ever become a law, it allows the local people at that time to determine what should go there, as opposed to kind of what we've been living under, which kind of pigeonholed us into one specific type of opportunity, which we
Senior housing.
can't get. Yep.
Senior housing.
And
I think the overall word multi-generational would cover everything, but I'm not really sure why this was given to us tonight to decide on, when we've been kicking this around for the past year. And the Planning Commission made a decision that it was, in their opinion, based on the current needs for affordable and senior housing through Southbury, that the property and the development of this size would allow the town to make significant strides at the current housing inequities and increase the affordable housing stock. The Planning Commission also stated that they would ask the Board of Selectmen to vote for those reasons and have the town council work on the rewording. So I don't know why our town council hasn't worked on the rewording. And everything from what we were told was our state representatives will be in session in February. So again, I'm not sure why this has to be decided at tonight's meeting. Why can't it wait till the next meeting? Why can't our town council view that? The Affordable Housing Subcommittee also came to the same conclusion. That's all I have to say.
Ann?
I just don't
So-
appreciate having to decide on something spur of the moment.
Well, Tim, to your point of wanting to change it.
Ann, can you push
I'm
your button?
sorry. Your point to saying that you want to change this to multi-generational housing, the reason we're rewording this in the first place is because it said senior housing, which doesn't allow us anymore to have the funding. If you leave it general, depending on where the world takes us and the funding through the state of Connecticut, this would give us the opportunity, once it's passed, the law is passed.
I understand that completely.
Wait, I'm not done yet.
I understand that completely.
Tim, Ann is finishing.
So if the state says that when this was developed, it said senior housing and there was funding for senior housing, if we were to put in language such as multi-generational or whatever kind of, we're sort of pigeonholing ourselves into saying, now if that funding's not available in 5 years, we'll have to go through this whole process all over again. And then the state could say, well, no, you don't get the property. So if you leave it in a general form, it opens up us more for more kind of development and more funding for a developer to take this on.
I completely agree. I don't know that Jason is an attorney, that he should be drafting this rewording.
Well, you just reworded it. It was already written.
Okay, has the town council
Not
reviewed
yet,
this
because we have
draft?
to make the decision on if we like this or not.
Okay.
This is-
If I,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, if I could, Tim, one, I feel your frustration about the timeline. I just found out last week of this expedited if Bill wants to get in. So do we have to do anything tonight? We don't. But it won't be taken up by this session this time. And that's, if that's what this board wants, that's fine by me too. To your point, am I attorney? I am not. Am I going to write the law at the end of the day? I am not. This is, again, I deleted more words than I added. This is a example of what we may hope to see the state legislature craft. So I make no representations that this will be word for word the law. I doubt it will be. I'm not too sure if they'll pass it or take it up. But our state representatives asked for some guidance on what this board would think it might like to see. They'll craft the law. I'm not going to craft any law. But for the ball to begin rolling, we need to kick it. So this was my attempt at, like I said, a jumping off point.
They're legal, they will have lawyers and legal people looking at it
I
for
welcome
the
it.
wording.
I
And
welcome,
then we would look at what that wording is and discuss whether we would support that. But they have legal people up there that would do that. Holly?
Yeah, I think just underscoring that, we've had all these asks for so long of what's gonna happen to Personal Village. And the reality is this is a long session. Next year's a short session, then it goes back to a long session. There are timeframes. If there was an expectation that language could go in February, that's probably inaccurate. You know, I do a lot up in Hartford. When this incoming group goes in, any proposed bills need to go up to LCO. If the town of Southbury, and again, this is just a recommendation, this is not, like, the legislature is going to modify it, recraft it. If we want something to be done remotely in 2025, it needs to be in within the next week and a half, and we don't have more time from that. It just isn't. But if we want to see if in 2026 it gets looked at in a short session, that's a possibility. But if we want any action in this calendar year, unfortunately, I think February is going to be too late.
well, then let's vote on it. The only reason that I'm frustrated is I've been emailing Jeff for 3 months on this.
I would say one thing, thank you for your work, Jason, and you truly haven't added that much, but you have pulled quite a bit out, and I'm a little bit concerned that deleting as much of the language about nonprofits would allow a completely for-profit development to come onto that piece of property. Now, I do believe that the state will probably clean that up, because the state's interest is in seeing affordable housing on that property, not for-profit housing. But I do think it's important to get the ball rolling. Good is better than perfect. And we should get the ball rolling. Last year, I don't know how close you guys follow this stuff, but, and I probably have the wrong number, but House Bill 1197 was raised, which would allow the Department of Housing to step in front of a town to take a state property and do what they want with it for us. And I'd rather not see that. I'd really rather not see that.
Wait, are you all set?
Sure.
Okay. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
everybody gets their turn and everybody, we make sure we're discussing, and we weren't arguing, but we want to make sure we're discussing, not arguing. Ann?
The question I have is, once this, if we vote on this and it goes up to the legislature, once they rework it, do we see it before the bill becomes a bill, or might not?
It's a public document. I don't think we'll have status to officially weigh in and try to change it. You could call our state reps and say, hey, I don't like this. But yeah.
And I think Holly will tell you that sometimes go ahead, it changes.
Yeah, it can change by the minute. So once they go into caucus and they're having conversations, there might be language, like, for example, the nonprofit question, that might come in or go out or things like that. This is really just us saying, hey, guys, can you start doing something? But then it's theirs. I mean, it's not, this isn't real, this is just, hey, this is what we would love to see, but it's not really any different than what any citizen can do with their state rep. Any citizen can say to their state rep, hey, I would love to see a bill that says that anywhere this happens, that this happens. And so this is not any different than, this is a municipality saying, here's what we'd like to see, but it's not any different than just a regular common citizen that says, I think we should have a stop sign. For anybody that's seen, like, the Schoolhouse Rock, how a bill becomes a law, it's a perfect example. Anybody can pick up their phone and call their legislator and say, I'd like to see a stop sign in here, and that's how it happens. This is us just saying, hey, state, we're stuck because it says senior housing. We cannot move forward because it says senior housing. Here's a suggestion. But then it becomes the bill sponsors. The bill sponsors are the ones that are going to craft that language. It's going to get edited. And while we could, just like there's public comment here, it could go to public comment up there, in which case they might hear us. But at the end of the day, we don't own this. Like this is state of Connecticut legislation. It's not town of Southbury legislation. It's theirs. So they're gonna be the ones that are going to own it, modify it, and edit it as they see fit. But at least we're getting some say to say, like, hey, we're struggling with this piece. And hey, legislators, can you please take a look? But no, they're not going to, it's not like they're gonna say, well, we're, as a legislative body, we need the town of Southbury's in advice on us. That's why they are elected to represent the bigger district.
Tim?
I'm not comfortable with it. I'll be voting no.
Well, I think, again, this rest of this board, I think we need to get the ball rolling, and I think that we're not going to, as to what Holly said, we're not going to be privy to the final legislation. It could change literally coming out of committee, like within minutes, the language, and I have seen that in bills that have gone through. But I think this is the step in the direction that gives us latitude to get this done to some degree, like you were saying, Jason. Do you have a motion to make?
I would make a motion that the Board of Selectmen of the Southbury transmit to our state delegation a recommendation for how to proceed with language surrounding the Southbury Training School Personnel Village in alignment with the document to discuss tonight.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Made and seconded. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
You're for this motion?
I am not for the motion.
So your vote would be a no?
I'm a nay.
Then one nay. Motion carries. Next up is Larkin Trail under new business. A discussion. So I do have some paperwork here. I will kind of go over what has transpired. Request was made May 28th in an email. This included a number of people from the state of Connecticut, from an engineering department, and a lot of people. And the subject was safety study, Route 67 in Southbury at Larkin's Trail Crossing. And the meat of it is, good morning, as the local traffic authority and first selectman of Southbury, I am formally requesting that the Connecticut DOT Traffic Study Engineering Unit to conduct a professional evaluation of the Larkin State Bridle Trail crossing over Route 67 in Southbury to assess the issues at this crossing and alternatives for improvements. And there's a lot of other flowery stuff in there that goes along with the email. On July 23rd, my assistant Bonnie Rado, on my behalf, sent an email to Kimberly Bradley. Thank you for the follow-up to DOT and offer to support. We also hope to get both the multi-purpose path and bridle trail projects moving forward. Any additional help would be appreciated. Kimberly Bradley on July 23rd. I'm sorry, I'm reading it the wrong direction. We got from Kimberly from the state And that was, I have forwarded your email to our Connecticut DOT Bike/Pedestrian Planning Division to see if we can encourage a response of the study request that I had made. I will let you know that we hear back. Hope to get this request moving. Best, Kim from the state. As far as the Larkin Bridle Trail crossing and path, DOT has not replied to Jeff's May 28th letter. Request for a safety study there. Once we hear from them, we will be in touch to continue moving forward on that project. Thank you for your help thus far, and we look forward to continuing our work together. So the request was made on May 28th. The follow-up to DOT and the people was July 23rd. DEEP had forwarded the email July 23rd to the Connecticut DOT Bike Pedestrian Planning Division, and that was July 23rd was the contact, and on August 18th, there was a flood, which took out most of the bridle trail area. There is closures on the bridle trail. There's two in Southbury, another one in Oxford. So all the requests have been made of the state up till July 23rd, and a couple weeks later, we had the release of the bridle trail and the washouts, and there's a lot of this trail that is really closed, not supposed to be on it. So when I say that, I think, I was heard a rumor, or somewhere, I'm blaming the flood. I'm not saying, the flood is what's causing a delay. They've got to figure out what they're doing with this bridle trail and what the finish is. Right now, it's not really open in places. You're not supposed to be on it. So there has been the request made. We are waiting for the state. The state, this is a state bridle trail. This is a state road. This is a state safety issue. They know they have issues there, and they also know they have a bridle trail that's been severely damaged. Any questions?
Yeah, I have questions. So you're referring to emails. I believe that you're supposed to fill out a formal request. Did those paperworks get sent to the state for a
That was the
crosswalk?
request. It was done, I don't know what
But
document.
the town is supposed to fill out
You have that
a formal
paper?
paperwork
You have
request.
you know what the paperwork is?
That's your job, Jeff.
Yeah, well, I've done my job.
Did you fill out the
I
paperwork
I
with the
have
state for
met
a
out there.
crosswalk?
I have
It's a
done the
simple
job.
question.
I have sent the request in, and they know about the problem.
So the official paperwork went to the state for a crosswalk on Route 67 and 6.
When we were at the meeting, those are the instructions we were given
By the state.
by the state, is to email a request, and if I can remember correctly, those are also the instructions online. Is there a certain email there that you have to email it to that one party?
That was the email to the,
That's who it was emailed to, and it was a formal letter, requesting an engineering study at that location. We had to write, a letter and, requesting a formal engineering study.
So beyond July 23rd, there's been no follow-up on this?
they have not responded to me.
Have you followed up with this
No, I've
beyond
been a little
July
busy with the
23rd?
flood, Tim.
Okay, so
I've been a
it's
little
simple
busy in the
no.
last
You
4
haven't-
months
you
with the
haven't
flood, a
followed up
major
with it.
disaster,
Could
sorry.
you follow up with it so we can
When-
get
when
a
time
safety
allows-
concern?
When the time allows, Tim, and the budgets are in, and all the FEMA issues are dealt with, and we know where we're going, I will follow up on this.
Okay, if you don't have the time, could you have one of the selectmen follow up with them?
You want to follow up with
I
the
would,
person?
I would be
You-
happy
you-
to.
you're more
I
than
will
welcome to.
definitely follow up with them.
You're more than welcome to.
Thank you.
It has been 4 months with the largest natural disaster to hit the town of Southbury since the flood of 1955. The staff has been pretty busy, we've all been pretty busy, and we will move forward. Next up, First Selectmen's report. I don't have a lot because it's been the holiday seasons, which has been pretty nice. Are there reports from liaisons? Selectman Armino, I will formally ask you if you could take over the liaison positions that former Selectman Bucksbaum had for me. Thank you, and you can get the list and report. Betsy will have that, and we'll get that done. Selectman Betty?
Economic Development has not met since our last meeting. Neither has IPOC. Pool Oversight was going to meet this morning. That got delayed. Strategic Plan did meet one more time in December. I think we all got the 2 resignations today. We're going to get 3 or 4 more. The members of the panel, bipartisan, just don't see that their efforts are being appreciated, and they're resigning relatively en masse. I think we're going to get 2 or 3 more this week. So that's what I got.
Selectman O'Neill?
None of my committees have met, Park and Rec, Conservation, or the Community Task Force.
Selectman Sullivan?
Region 15 Board of Ed did have off Christmas week, so they did not meet.
Jason?
Only one of my committees that have met is Charter Revision, and I think it's going to be the same update I've given you the past 2 meetings, that we continue to do our work. We are tackling issues one at a time and look forward to eventually presenting a recommendation to this board.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. And we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.